Welcome to the College of Valor, where we empower truth seekers with the art of reason. Hope is the motivation, truth is the goal. Everyday valor is the practice, better living is the result.
Welcome back to College of Valor. We're discussing the meaning of life part 2. So if you have not seen part 1, go back and watch it for context, and we hope that you enjoy.
You will never learn enough to save yourself. It's not going to happen. You'll never learn enough. You'll never know enough to save yourself.
That's but the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Well, but gaining greater and greater wisdom brings greater and greater life fulfillment and joy. And as you gain that wisdom, you are empowered to shine light upon others in a way that helps them to see their own path. And that is a beautiful opportunity. And it's not that you'll ever have all the answers. You'll never know enough to save yourself. But as you learn more along the way, you can help others learn more too. And that is the pathway to life. That is the journey of life instead of the path of death.
Right. So Lord Henry, he was arguably doing the same thing, right? He was sharing his knowledge with someone younger, but there's a crucial element that was missing, which is love. Right?
Yeah.
So how do you think that conversation would have been different, perhaps? Or how can we foster innocence to turn it into wisdom by using love rather than, oh, let me just save you time. Life sucks. You shouldn't care.
Well, that is the pursuit. It's the pursuit worth participating in. And, we probably need to define love. I think on a previous episode, we talked a little bit about it, but just real quickly, we're going to be talking about love probably on every episode from now on. For years to come, we're going to be talking about love because love is that important. Love really is the answer. But then you have to know a little bit about what love is. And, Jesus said something interesting. Whether you're a person of religion or not, you have to listen to wisdom when you hear it. And this wisdom was that unless you have the faith of a child, you can't enter the kingdom of God.
And what does that mean?
There's something about the innocence akin to love, believing wholeheartedly. That there's something about believing that is so powerful, it can lead you to the kingdom of God, but you have to believe the right things. And children, when they're young, they don't question so much. They just embrace.
They're very good at loving.
They just embrace. We say they're good at loving, and then in the next minute, they're going to kick you in the shin and scream and cry and get very, very selfish and hurtful because they haven't learned yet. But there's something about the faith of a child, that the belief that says, not that I'm going to believe dumbly. That's not it. It's like, I don't notice that you smell funny. I'll give you a hug anyway.
Right.
It's more like that. Right. But what is love then? People say that love is blind. Now, let's just stop there for a minute and contrast that with social media. Is love blind on social media?
Does love exist on social media?
So we might be talking about something other than sexual attraction. Right? Oh, what if I say, oh, I love this Snickers bar.
Snickers satisfies.
That's the answer to the meaning of life. Snickers and motorcycles. We got it. That's all you need to know, guys. We're done. Snickers and motorcycles. Man, we use the word love so flippantly in our society that I think it loses a lot of meaning. But the word love is not, it's not a trivial word. It's the most powerful thing in the universe. But there are different types of love. There's obviously sexual attraction love, there's brotherly and sisterly love, there's romantic love, there's this pure love that is kind of like compassion that, love overcomes a multitude of sins.
Right.
Right? There's that pure love, that divine love is another word for it. These things are all different things. They kind of get intertwined with each other, but really to understand love, it's one of life's biggest mysteries. And perhaps that if you just made it your life's purpose to understand love experientially, sharing it with others, sharing what you learn along the way, that might bring your life a lot of meaning.
Wow.
Matter of
Yeah,
fact,
I
I
can
would
just
say
imagine that going from a, a nihilistic viewpoint where nothing matters to maybe one day deciding maybe I should experiment and figure out what love is, from a very practical, pragmatic standpoint. And then all of a sudden, when you explore what love truly is in the world around you, just interacting with other people through love,
yeah,
it's impossible to be nihilistic.
that's true. That's true. Those two things are like oil and water.
Right.
You can be nihilistic and be extraordinarily sexually active and sexually
Right.
successful and still be nihilistic. So love's not just a physical relationship, right? But you can't experience true love, real love, and be nihilistic at the same time.
Right.
Not coming out of your own heart. There are people that might love you. And I would like to believe that I could be one of those people, that I could love someone who's struggling.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? That gives my life purpose.
Yeah, you can find a lot of meaning in loving somebody who is nihilistic.
I'm not talking about getting caught in a relationship with someone that hasn't figured out what life is yet, but
right.
um you know, when I started thinking about this, I realized that we need to lay out some sort of a picture of what a fulfilling life can look like. And life can beat you up, man. It can knock you down. People can tell you that you're of no value, and you can begin to believe that. But I want to be the first to say, if no one else has said it to you, that you are valuable. You know why? Because you are a human being full of potential to experience and do good, to experience and do love, and you have immense value. So believing the right things shapes your behavior and how you experience life. And one of the first beliefs that is critical is that, yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm broken. Matter of fact, I could be a lot better than I am, but I'm still valuable because I have potential to do some really great things.
Right.
Right.
Man, I love that because that also involves a lot of self forgiveness, being honest with yourself about your shortcomings, but saying, you know what? I'm going to love you anyway.
So that was simply said. That's one of the hardest things in life.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a while.
Forgiving oneself. Holy crap. That's hard.
Hmm.
You know, what most people end up doing, I think, or a lot of people do, is that they realize they can't forgive themselves. So they decide there's nothing to forgive.
Oh, yeah.
They decide that, well, like Lord Henry said, sin, if sin exists.
Oh man, I would not want to meet him in a dark alley.
Mm-mm. No, it's kind of a scary thought. The idea is that there is such a thing as a pathway of death, and when we participate in that, we find ourselves um, disappointed. We know we have more potential, we could do better, and we find ourselves in a mess. And it's just like, holy crap, where am I? What have I done with my life? And if at that point you decide there's nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with me, I'm fine, nothing to forgive here. I don't think there's a path of life that way because the deception just gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
The answer is that you can be better than you are. I can be better than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And in that is so much hope. But it starts with forgiveness of yourself. And boy, is that hard.
And you have to forgive yourself over and over and over and over 10 times a day. And then the next day, the day after that, it's not just a one time thing. You can't just forgive yourself once and then mess up again and then say, well, I already forgave myself that one time. I shouldn't give myself any more grace. Don't do that.
Wow. And it's so hard. There's so many traps along that path. And we could end up in a lot of psychobabble here, but um, someone comes up to you and says, it really hurt me when you did this. You have a choice right there. Stop. Don't open your mouth. Shut up. That's
Mm,
the time to take a breath and make a choice. Because human nature is to respond in something like, well, I did that because of what you did. Oh, now you're off to the races. Even if that were a true statement, you're not taking responsibility for your actions. And so if someone comes to you and says, it torqued me off when you did XYZ, don't respond. Consider. And the reason I bring this up is because it is very much related to forgiveness. We have to kind of own our shortcomings if we're ever going to forgive them. We have to list them out directly. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to forgive myself for all that stupid stuff I did. That doesn't work. Instead, you have to say, holy crap, when I did that to my mom, take a moment in her shoes and say, oh, golly, that must have hurt her so much. I feel very despicable right now. That's what I got to forgive.
mm. Yeah, that's very difficult.
Now, you could say, when my dad treated me like that, I think I was justified to do what I did. That's tough because you can't balance guilt and balance guilt and balance guilt because eventually, the balance gets heavier and heavier, heavier, and then snaps. It doesn't
Right.
fix it, right? Yeah, maybe your dad was an absolute turd. You can't change that. And you can't justify your own inadequacies because of his turdness.
Mm.
So you have to look deep in your heart and say, he did horrible things to me. Is it possible that love could heal that scar, heal that wound? And then what I have done in my life, I can't say it's okay. I have to actually say, no, I messed up. But then maybe love can heal that wound as well. And that maybe that's what forgiveness is.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's treating yourself as if you haven't done all those stupid things. It's saying, you know what? I screwed up, but I love myself and I'm going to allow love into my life. And I'm going to make better choices going forward. And I'm going to start living my life with the lessons I learned from being stupid, but not letting that stupidity to have a power over me anymore. Instead, I'm gonna look at the self that did those things and say, I love you, you idiot.
Yep.
Say, yeah, we're all human. We screw up, but if I learn from it, then there's some value that can come out of that. If I don't learn from it, if I try to blame someone else, if I just live with darkness and bitterness and confusion in my heart, where does that lead? There's no value in that. Right?
Right.
So here's the roadmap I'd like to throw out for the meaning of life. But let's reverse the question again. What gives life meaning? You have to first start believing better things. You have to start realizing that you are valuable because of the potential that you have. And when you've done a little bit of soul searching and found some things that are valuable to you, you say, that is really important. I care deeply about this issue or this need or this beauty. Then you start investing your energy in building the cathedral instead of wallowing in the mud.
Right.
You find something that you think is valuable and you start working toward it and realize you're making a positive difference. And you learn as you go, and your values will change. They'll mature. And at some point, you'll go, ooh, I put a lot of effort into that. But really, I now understand this was a better direction over here. And that's okay because you're learning and you're growing and you start investing in that thing that has value. If you find something that you feel like is very valuable in your life and you pour yourself into it, you pour yourself into it, then life starts to become meaningful. And that's different. That's different than achievement. Matter of fact, setting goals is very important. It's a great thing to do. And that's kind of what I'm talking about here. But when you achieve your goal that you've worked very hard for, have you ever achieved a major goal, Lydia, and just been like, oh, crap. Now what?
It was the second that I was holding my diploma for my biology degree in my hand.
Oh, no. Okay. Did you learn something along the way?
Yes.
Huge amounts, right? So maybe accomplishing the goal, standing on the podium or the stage, holding that piece of paper or that trophy or whatever it is, that moment can feel good, but you can have that oh crap moment. So you better have other goals lined up, right? To continue pursuing other great things that you value. But so it's not necessarily in the achievement, is it?
No, I think that it's really important that we don't put our identity in achievements.
I wrote a poem, which I've lost, when I was in college, my senior year. And it's when I was beginning to realize this because I was about to graduate. And I wrote this poem, and it starts out by saying, the trophies line the fireplace mantle, they're sparkling for the world to see. And then the poem goes on to describe a person who worked really, really hard for all these achievements. A person who gave and took and struggled and battled to accomplish these things. And then the last line of the poem says, but in the end, the trophies make very poor company.
Wow.
So I don't want to give someone false hope that accomplishment is the answer. Achieving greatness. That's not the answer either. So what's the answer then?
Balance.
Balance. It's
Achieve
growing.
great things. Be successful. Love what you do. Have fun. Hang
Pour
out with
yourself into something
friends.
worthwhile, right?
Yeah. Pour yourself into as many worthwhile things as you can in as many areas of life as you can. And do it all through a lens of love.
And balance.
And
Like you said.
balance.
And balance, like you said. You know, Jordan Peterson is loved and liked, very controversial man. If you hate Jordan Peterson, then you haven't listened to him yet. You've listened to what other people have said about him.
Media is really great at snipping little segments of one thing that he's saying, and it sounds
Yeah.
horrible. I just found one this morning.
Oh
I was like,
man,
oh, that's not what
he
he actually
gets in
said.
so much trouble. But if you've actually listened to Jordan Peterson honestly, then you may not agree with everything or much, but you probably will. He's a man of extraordinary knowledge and wisdom, and he's trying to share it in a way that helps people. And one of the things that he found is that his advice is find the heaviest load that you could possibly carry and pick it up and start climbing that mountain.
Wow.
If you want life to be meaningful, then that's it.
And I also loved what he said. He he said that if you feel like you're just kind of coasting along, not doing anything particularly good, you're trying to figure out who you are, but you just don't really have the energy to do that. He said, just sit on the edge of your bed, be very honest with yourself about what you're doing, the habits that you have, whether they're good or bad. Figure out the spot in your life that is bringing you down, that is not something that you need to have in your life. And for him, it was alcohol.
Mm.
And he decided he was a very heavy drinker. He decided that he didn't want that in his life because it was impairing his mental capacity. So he stopped drinking. And now just look at him. He's famous, incredibly controversial, has so many incredibly complex things to say.
Yeah. He's living a life of making a difference. And like I said, you don't have to agree with him, but his example of taking all of your life's hard work and trying to make something valuable out of that that could possibly help someone else out, that's a darn good life.
Yeah,
It really is.
absolutely.
It's a darn good life. And we all have our own personal demons. And I mean, alcohol is just one thing that gets people down, but alcohol can also be joyful and celebrated. It's a matter of doing it in balance and moderation. And but you look at your own life and you say, who are my demons? And we all have demons. And here's another thing. This is very important. Since we got on the topic, trying not to do something is doomed to failure from the start.
Yep.
Because you're going to gravitate toward what you focus on. So when you identify your demon, when your demon is named, then don't focus on that demon anymore. Find a beneficial opposite to pursue and reward yourself for the pursuit of that beneficial thing.
Yeah.
So,
read Atomic Habits, guys.
yeah, quit trying not to do things. Instead, occupy yourself doing the opposites. It's so much so important. And that's why we're talking about a life well lived. For instance, don't try to stop being nihilistic. Instead, pursue meaning in life. Pursue your potential that you can make a difference and do good things. And then nihilism goes away because you can't be nihilistic if you're living a life full of purpose and meaning and benefit.
Right.
So, I would like to read this list of 49 things. And please don't be bored by it. I'm going to say that this is a preview of coming attractions. And the reason is because we're going to talk about a lot of these things in future episodes. This is what the College of Valor is about. And so just by running down the list, maybe you'll hear something here and you'll say, oh, wow, I don't want to miss that one. So here we go.
That's a great list. I'm excited.
Rather than asking what is the meaning of life, rather one should ask what gives life meaning. That was this episode. Things that give life meaning. Fame, ? Fortune. Oh, we didn't even touch on money. We got to do money in the meaning of life. That is so important. Accomplishment. We did talk about that one. Sex. We touched on it. Relationships. Can other people make you okay?
No.
They
can definitely help support you though. I would say that if I never spoke to another human, I would not be okay.
No. Well, I'll just say this in brief. We're going to have to visit this with entire episodes, but there's a common fallacy among youth, young people, young adults, that they get into a relationship and they feel such joy and relief that someone loves them and cares for them. And then they begin to identify themselves with the other person and they feel like they're okay because someone loves them. And then they break up. Ouch. Okay. The other person can't make you okay. Marrying the right person can't make you okay. Sorry. It's a wonderful thing to do. And it has its benefits, but it's not their job to make you okay. That's your job. So we'll come back to that. Happiness like quicksilver. We talked about that. The pursuit of happiness, is that the answer? We talked about hedonism. It seems that the pursuit of happiness is a high priority these days, but does it work? And we talked about that. The importance of fun. We didn't go into it. We certainly said it was important. What about Sisyphus or a Sisyphean task? We didn't talk about that. Talking about Greek mythology. Who was Sisyphus? Do you remember? Who was Sisyphus? Okay, so Sisyphus was punished by being told that he had to push a boulder up a mountain. Sound familiar? The trick was, though, he never got to go to the top because every time he got close, the boulder rolled back to the bottom. So he had to spend eternity in vain labor. So there are some traps on this pathway of pouring yourself into something of value. You don't want to be Sisyphus, right? But I guarantee you one thing. Think about how strong Sisyphus became by fighting this good fight. So there are two sides to that coin. The pursuit of money. Wow, we're going to do episodes on this, episodes. So the key to money, I'll just say it this way. It's really, really quick. The key to money is to realize that there's a minimum amount needed to meet the needs of life. There's some minimum for everybody, and that's different for different people. There's also enough. Everybody has a point where they should be able to say, this is enough. Because if you can't be satisfied with your material possessions, what you have, your money, you're lost. You're barking up the wrong tree. So there is such a thing as enough. You can buy experiences, but you can't buy happiness. That's also matters. Money doesn't buy happiness. A lack of money can sure be hard, though. So money does matter. Wealth and happiness. Does wealth make a person happy? What is wealth? Maybe you have to answer what is wealth before you can address if happiness could come from it or not. There are different types of wealth. I think the wealthiest people are those that are pouring their hearts into a worthwhile task.
Yeah.
That's wealth. Oh, here's one for you.
It does feel like it.
Money is not a thermometer. Money is a problem to solve. Money is not a thermometer. It doesn't say much at all about the value of you as a person. We talked about joy versus happiness. There's fulfillment versus happiness. We talked about that a bit too. Maslow's hierarchy for self-actualization. We didn't talk about that at all, but that's cool. We'll get into that a little bit. Maslow had some good points. I don't agree with all of them, but he has some good points. Values, we talked about that. What you value, you will pursue, and what you pursue will define you. That might be the secret to a meaningful life. Find something worth doing, then pour yourself into it. Being productive on a worthwhile task is very rewarding. Family, parenting, helping others, improving society, faith, religion, ideology, all of these things have a lot to do with meaningful life. But remember, you're never going to learn enough to save yourself. But there's something beautiful about the process of learning and growing that is so rewarding and worthwhile. It's a good idea to view life as moving the ball down the field rather than just making touchdowns. And you have to ask yourself the question, not did I succeed today or fail today? Maybe the question is, did I move the ball down the field? Because if I did, that's progress. Goals matter. We talked about goals briefly. We're going to do a lot of episodes on the right way to set and work toward goals. And we also talked about how everyone makes a difference, either for good or bad. You don't have a choice. You are making a difference. And then there's the idea of steering a boat. You know, if you have a boat with a rudder, you can move that rudder back and forth, and the boat won't change direction unless it's moving. What that means is, if you want your life to get better, you need to start moving. If you sit there and say, which way do I go? Which way do I go? Which way do I go? You can't steer a boat until it's moving. So pick something, start moving. Then you can steer your life. Oh boy, here's a big one. Struggling down a road with tunnel vision, you might find yourself at the end of the road, only then to realize it was a wrong road. So don't just pursue some false hope, right? That's why you need to be learning and growing. That's why it matters. You may never know enough to save yourself, but you might know enough to realize you're on the wrong road. Right? Yep. Pride is a liar. You think that pride's going to make you feel better about yourself or make life meaningful or something like that? That's a lie. Pride's a liar. Do what you can until you can do what you want. Don't get stuck. Ends do not justify the means. Sorry. Ends don't justify the means. The means are what really matter. In the end will matter less than the means anyway. Don't strive for success. And people say, well, what? Weren't you just saying the opposite? No. Thrive toward success. Every day is success if you're thriving toward your goals, your ideals. You don't have to reach some panacea to suddenly arrive. That can't happen anyway. So thrive every day. Doing something for what you love versus doing what you love. These things are very, very similar, but sometimes there's a time for doing something for what you love. I spent many years of my life doing a job I really didn't love that much, but it was taking care of my family. And that was so fulfilling because I love my family so much.
I love you too.
um, a lot of people say that all is vanity. It's really not. But sometimes it feels like the accomplishments can be vanity, right? The process is not vanity. The process is what we're here for. Tilting at windmills. Some of you may know the reference, Don Quixote. He ran across the countryside on a horse with a lance, looking for dragons to slay, and ended up tilting his lance at windmills and attacking windmills because he was kind of living in an artificial world and wasting his efforts on dragons that didn't exist. So we need to talk about tilting at windmills. Um, do you exist for a reason, or is life a cosmic accident? Some people say that's the existential question, but most true existentialists would actually say existentialism has nothing to do with some greater design. There's no God, there's no universe that could make me do or be or experience anything. If that's what you're saying, it's not an existential philosophy. So when people say I'm having an existential crisis, what they're really saying is, without God, what's the meaning of my existence? That's really what existentialism really is.
Interesting.
And I'm not trying to condemn someone's feelings one way or the other. It's just a clarification. But are you here? Were you given a purpose? Or are you here by some freak accident? But you can still find your purpose. Something to wrestle. Should you search for the reason or should you determine your reason? It's a parallel thought. How about this one? Service is an act of worship. Whenever you work hard at something, that's service. And that is an act of worship. So the question is, what are you worshiping? A lot of people say that they're atheists. They don't believe in God. They hate religion. They don't have religion in their lives, yet they're worshiping something. And if you worship the wrong thing, well, there's some paths that lead to death. You'll never be good enough. We didn't really address that directly. We sort of did, but you'll never be good enough. But you can be forgiven enough and loved enough.
Right.
Individualism versus collectivism. Woo, we live in such a highly individualistic society. But is collectivism the answer? That's something we really need to hash out. I'll say it up front. I don't believe collectivism is the answer. But being self-absorbed probably isn't either. Good versus evil. Do they exist? Making your mark, leaving a legacy, making the world a better place for future humans. Is that your life's goal? To be remembered? Is that going to provide meaning? Who's being served and what's being worshipped? I don't know. We'll have to explore that. Does finding yourself work? What about being self-centric versus others-centric? A balance. You can't save drowning people if your boat is sinking. That your boat may always be sinking until you start caring for others.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
We're almost through the list. Is there something bigger than us out there, something with hope and joy and love and forgiveness? Is there something bigger to serve? Is this the meaning of life? Number 49. What robs you of your joy? It's a question worth asking. It's part of what you were talking about, right?
Right.
Can you change something? Are you empowered to fix it? Can you interpret the circumstances differently? Can you grow a backbone so it doesn't bother you anymore? Are you staring at the mud or smelling the flowers that are growing out of the mud?
Hmm. Are you sliding a block in the mud or are you building a cathedral?
That's right. And things that do give life meaning. Here's a short list, and we kind of touched on this, but here's some things. Love, number one, love gives life meaning. And that doesn't mean being in a relationship with somebody necessarily. Love is bigger than that. Working productively to accomplish something you really value. We talked about that. Helping others. That's a big one. Diligence, but not distraction. There's a difference. Being diligent. Believing things that are life giving belief system. Building something that will last. Having the right perspective. And on number 8 here, just popped into my head, and I thought, oh man, this gives life meaning. Setting the captives free.
What does that mean?
Well, who are the captives? There might be people that are oppressed, people with needs, people that could use some help, right?
Right.
But you can also be captive in your own heart, right? You're a slave to many things, and you can set those captives free as well. And then you can be free indeed. But setting the captives free, that's a worthwhile pursuit right there.
Yeah.
So, Lydia, I think we need to wrap this up. What did we miss that we needed to talk about? Oh, only 48 items.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
Man. Yeah, we just wanted to offer some food for thought at least and introduce the topic of what gives life meaning because it's pretty crucial to be able to understand that, start exploring it, and I believe that it will feed so much goodness into your life as you explore what gives your life meaning.
Well said. I'd like to throw in there hope matters, and there is hope. And there is an old verse that says that hope deferred makes the heart sick. That's true, but don't give up on hope. Keep hoping, even when it seems like the way is long and the way is hard. Keep hoping.
There have been
Find
a few
things
times
that.
in my life where I was hoping for hope.
Well, that's worthwhile. That's a starting point, isn't it? Hoping for
Right.
hope.
Yep.
Well, I want to tell everyone out there hope is real. It does exist. And even if you've got a pretty good life, I know there are times when you despair of it. Everybody does. Hope is real and hope exists. And find something that you find very, very valuable, that is beneficial, that you know is life giving, and then pour yourself into that because that's the beginning of a meaningful life.
Absolutely.
All right. I guess that's all then. Anything else?
We love you guys.
We love you guys. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.